When I first watched my dad on TV, there was a distinct scene where he was acting as like in a hostage situation, and then just holding the love interest, at gunpoint, and it's like, you know what? I want you to take off your clothes right now, and he had to do it. In my mind, I'll be like, why did my dad do that? I think when kids see things, it has a strong impact on them. Hi, my name is Jonathan. I am 35 years old this year. I am a filmmaker and I'm also a freelance lecturer in various tertiary institutions in Singapore.
你好，我是朱厚仁，我是 Jonathan 的爸爸。
祝后任。哇！
感谢上帝，今年肯定是建国一代年。好，我64岁了，还能够拿多几年呢？孩子，接下来那9座你要帮我拿。谢谢大家。
My dad actually didn't want me to enter the industry, so I started studying film in Ngee Ann Polytechnic. He didn't want me to study that at first, right? He wanted me to take another course because he felt like filmmaking is something that you could learn on the side.
Jonathan 读完中学，我还以为我还会去读杰西才能够去大学，就告诉我要去读伯利，要学电影。这个我完全没有准备啊！可是我想起一个中学生，我也是中学生，曾经前面要走什么路都还不清楚，他已经这么清楚。他说我要做导演，我觉得他很成熟，他选这条路，我应该支持他。
We live in a world where storytelling is around us constantly. You listen to songs, there's storytelling. Look at a painting, there is a story in it. But to me, filmmaking is the most immediate visual form of storytelling because it hits you in the soul. What I really want to do is to move people. There's a very common feedback sometimes you get from people. They'll be like, hey, I watched that show that day on Channel 5 or Channel 8. It's not bad for a Singapore show. So I think you get that a lot. And sometimes you understand where that's coming from. It means that it's good, but not that great yet, right? I think it's quite poor thing sometimes that actors in this generation, they have to live with that. My dad's generation, they were whipped into shape, right? Because they worked with the Hong Kong crew and professionals that came in the early days of Channel 8, right? They bring their practices, their influences, they set up a system. There's many interesting characters you can get out of older cast members as well. And I very much want to create that for him because I think he has a lot of things he can still offer. I can understand when people feel a certain way when they see me casting my dad in my films, but I will guarantee that the film will be of a certain standard, that you will get something worthwhile from the film. On the contrary, I've seen certain films, student films, feature films that have casted my dad and have put him to atrocious use, right? As a family, you eat together, you coexist together, because I know how he is as a person on a day-to-day basis. I know what kind of emotions he's able to deliver. And I just think it's interesting, if I can show a much more further range within him.
你从那边走过来，这个就是这两侧，准备把他的车胎刺破。
I've worked with my dad on 2 more other short films. Those 2 short films are slightly more on a low-budget scale, more experimental, more loosely structured. They were shot on smartphones.
你刚才走来，东张西望，好像一个杀手一样，一来到这边就很爽快，好像 professional， 你不是。
I think when you see my dad in the short films, you are able to not only see a role being interpreted by an actor, you actually see a person that you can relate to.
拍我孩子的戏跟拍其他导演最大不同的就是，我们回家的时候还可以再聊，因为我们聊了以后，我们得到更多的共识，拍起来会很舒服。这些的准备的工作跟之后分享的时间呢，非常充足，所以我很喜欢跟我孩子一起拍戏。
I think being in the same field as my dad definitely bring us closer. Me and my dad, we don't really talk much about everyday life things, but we talk about work a lot. We talk about films, we talk about culture. It's a bit embarrassing, but yeah, just shoot.
我们搬了很多次家，都想离开 MRT， 结果搬到哪里做 MRT。他的playground全部要做，现在playground过时了，要做一些新的。
我都没有走来这边过。
Currently, I'm working on my first feature film. It's a film about an ex-drug consumer who has been struggling with drugs like half of his life. My father will be acting as the father of the main character. But I've already started discussing with him what can we do to make this character much more rich, create something that people can really relate to it, where people can really look at it and say, I'm watching my father in that.
觉得这个很重要。如果一般人来拍的话，你不明显的不要做明显的话，就完蛋了。
I've definitely felt lost before in my filmmaking journey. There are definitely times when I felt like the more I was trying to make my films a certain way, right, I was more unlike myself. And in those times, I find myself really have to go back to the basics, dig deeper, honestly, as a person, what do I like? What do I want to tell? I recall one incident when I was studying overseas and we had a graduation screening after that. At the end, there was all these like industry people meeting around, talking to the people who've made their films and everything. And I was walking around, right? Nobody was talking to me. I guess the film just didn't kind of resonated in them. Then after that, I went to dinner with my parents and my dad told me that, the films that you make, there is a quiet energy to it that is internal. You should always remember that and keep to that. So I think that is very, very useful advice that I've brought to my work. Yeah.
有人讲这样的一句话：拍部电影，你要拍来拿奖的，还是拍来卖座的？其实我希望他能够拍的电影，拿奖跟卖座先放在这边，拍部好看的电影。好看的电影最重要，卖座的电影不一定好看，好看的电影不一定拿奖。什么叫做好看的电影呢？就是大家看了以后觉得跟我有关系的，大家看的时候有共鸣的，现在缺乏这样的戏。
I've come to realize that, when I make a film, it has to have some form of hope at the end. It has to give people some form of hope. And I think the younger generation has more of that. Yeah. I will always tell my dad to keep his secrets closely to his heart and remain as mysterious and enigmatic as he's always been. Yeah.